Good morning, everyone. I'm Bharti Sharma, your English teacher. I hope you're all enjoying your compulsory stay at home. It's very difficult in this busy routine to get together and spend our time with the family. So, cherish these moments which you're getting to spend with your family. And then, as soon as the lockdown lifts up, we are all going to follow the same busy routine. So, right now, enjoy the time you're getting with the family. Today in your video, we'll be doing story writing, and I will be telling you the points how to write a good story. So please watch the video carefully. Thank you. Take care. Today we'll try to find out what story writing is all about. When we say story writing, especially for 10th standard, it is of 150 to 200 words. So we can call it as a short story. So short stories are meant to be read in a single sitting. So because we will only sit for one time and finish it off, it is small story. So it should be direct and brief. Short stories are usually fiction. Well, what we are writing is usually a matter of fiction, that is not a true story. We are making up the situation and writing a story. So to write a very good fiction, we need to be very creative. Okay, we need to use our imagination to the full and write the story. So we have to be creative, and the sentences or the structures we make should be easy. We should make easy grammatical structures, that is easy, simple, easy sentences. And we need to have a good vocabulary, that is good knowledge of words, so that we can use the words. We need not repeat the words again and again. If we have a good vocabulary, we can use many words while writing the story. And when we write a story, it should be a natural flow of speech. We shouldn't get stuck up and look for sentences. It should be the story should be in a natural flow. Okay. So how do we plan a story? For planning a story, we should first remember that story writing consists of 5 things. Okay, there are 5 elements required to write a story. The 5 elements are character, setting, plot, conflict, and theme. So all these 5 things make up a very good story. So first of all, we'll talk about character. What do we understand by character? It is the people, or it could be animal in a story. That is the character around which the story revolves. So when we start a story, we should be doing the characterization, that is the description of the characters. We need to describe the characters, and the description has to be very nice, that is interesting, not nice, very interesting description of the character, that is how one of the character dresses up, or what is his peculiar behavior, or what dress is, if he has worn some interesting dress, or any interesting quality in that character. That will be part of characterization that we have to keep in mind. To make the story interesting, we'll have to start it from here itself, that is giving a very interesting description of the character. And we need to give or allocate meaningful dialogues to the character, that is they need to be conversing with each other, so the dialogues have to be meaningful. Then in case if the story is a narrative, or if we are having a narrative in between the dialogues, we have to keep in mind that the narration should be throughout. You cannot just begin the narrative and leave it at that point itself. It should be throughout the story. And the narrative could be in first person, second person, or third person. And while introducing the characters, we have to keep in mind, the fewer the characters in the story, the better the story will be. Otherwise it will be very confusing. Because this story is small, it is of 150 to 200 words. If we introduce many characters,
we won't be able to do justice to the characters, and we'll have to leave them half the way. So we have to keep in mind, fewer the characters, the better it will be. Then comes the setting, that is the place where the story is taking place, okay, or the setting of the story. So it is a time and place of the story where the story is set, okay. It should be brief and vivid. The description should be vivid, that is very clear, but we need to be brief because we are writing a story, so the teacher will be interested in reading the story, not the setting. So the setting should be brief, not too many words given to setting. And it will be better if we keep the setting to a single place. Don't keep on changing the setting from here and there. Let it be at one single place. And then we have to keep in mind the location and the atmosphere. They should be in context with the story we are writing, that is, they should be connected to the story we are writing. Next part is the plot. Plot is the uh, whole story, and the whole story revolves around the plot. That is the main part of a story, and it has to be interesting. It The plot shouldn't be too simple, nor should be it be too complicated, okay. If we keep it very simple, the people who are reading the story, they will lose interest, and if it is too complicated, again they won't be able to understand a single word of it. So we need to keep a interesting plot, and just keep in mind the whole story revolves around the plot. The starting, the body, and the end of the story should be linked together by events and actions. That is, there should be a connection between the start, the body, and the end of the story. They should be connected. It shouldn't be that all of a sudden something happens here, then something in the middle, and then the ending. No, they should be connected or linked to one another. We need to creatively describe and logically connect events and action. You have to keep in mind, when you're writing a story, you have to be creative. That is, while describing, you need to be very creative. You need to use your creativity, and then you have to logically connect and write the events and actions. Then the next thing which is important for the story, that is the conflict. Conflict is a difference in the story. That is, people or the characters in the story have difference amongst themselves, which creates interest. Otherwise, if the story is just very happy, it becomes very boring. So we need to create some problem in between. That is a conflict. That is a problem which crops up in between the story, and which creates interest of the people who are reading the story. That is, they all of a sudden, it arouses their interest. They would like to know what is going to happen. So for that, we need to have a conflict in the story. And because this is a short story, the conflict should be one only, so it can be resolved. That is, the conflict can be removed. So if there is a conflict, there will be a resolution or the resolving of the conflict also. And when there is a conflict, we get to see the opposition between characters. That is, two different types of characters we'll see. One who is trying to solve the problem, the other one who is adamant on wanting to create that problem, okay. So you will get to see the opposition between characters when there is a conflict. Next is the theme, which is the frame of a story, or the central idea of the story. The plot, setting, conflict, and characters should be connected in a story, and they should be relatable. That is, we are able to relate to it. It shouldn't be something very out of the blue, which where we are not able to relate. We are not able to accept that this happens in this world. So we need to have all these things in a very relatable position. Then after the theme, the ending of the story. When we end a story, we have to keep in mind that at times, if there is a conflict, it is resolved, which brings an end to the story, okay. So with the resolving of the problem, the story ends. So that is the ending of the story. At times we have an open end, that is, we leave it for the um, readers to have an opinion about whether they would want to finish the story in this way or that way. It is up to them to decide. And at times we have a ending parallel to beginning, that is, this we come back to the same position where the story started. That is, the differences have been ironed out, or they haven't been resolved, and the characters are come back to the same position where they started from. Okay, so this is how we can end the story. That is either by resolving this problem, or keeping an open end, or bringing the end of the story parallel to the beginning, that is coming back to the place where they started. So this is all for the story writing. I hope with this you will be able to write better stories. Thank you. Take care.